Imagine a machine. It doesn't sleep. It doesn't feel. It doesn't guilt. It hesitates. It scans millions of phone calls, social media posts, and daily movements. And within 20 seconds, it picks a name. That name goes on a list. And somewhere a missile is already being loaded. This isn't science fiction. This isn't a Netflix thriller. This is happening right now, and it already has. The Israeli military built an AI system so precise, so cold, so calculated, that soldiers called it "Where's Daddy?" Because it waited, it watched, and the moment a target walked through his front door, back to his family, back to his children, it struck. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the most chilling military technology ever deployed in modern warfare. On the morning of October 7th, 2023, the world woke up to chaos. Hamas launched the deadliest attack on Israeli soil in decades. Over 1,200 people killed, hundreds taken hostage. The shock was total. The response would be unlike anything the world had ever seen. Not just in firepower, but in the technology behind it. Within days, Israel's military activated a new kind of warfare. Not just soldiers and jets, but algorithms. Artificial intelligence systems that had been quietly built for years were suddenly switched on, fully operational, fully autonomous in their recommendations, and fully deployed against a population of over 2 million people. The age of AI warfare didn't begin in a lab. It began in Gaza before "Where's Daddy?" there was Lavender. Lavender was the backbone, the AI engine that changed everything. Built inside Israel's elite Unit 8200, Lavender was designed to do one thing: identify Hamas operatives and mark them as targets. It pulled data from everywhere. Phone records, social media activity. Who you called, who called you, where you walked, what you posted. Lavender cross-referenced all of it, built a profile, and assigned every male in Gaza a score, a number that essentially measured how likely you were to be a militant. At its peak, Lavender had generated a list of 37,000 potential targets. 37,000 human beings, ranked by an algorithm, and the operators trusted it almost completely. Here is what should terrify you. According to intelligence sources who spoke to investigative journalists at Pluck's 972 magazine, operators reviewing Lavender's targets were spending an average of just 20 seconds per person before approving a strike. 20 seconds. That is less time than it takes to read a text message. The sources described it plainly. They treated the machine's output as if it were a human decision. There was no deep review, no thorough investigation. The AI said this person is likely Hamas. The human clicked approve. A bomb dropped. And in those 20 seconds, there was almost no space for doubt, for error correction, or for the basic question: what if the machine is wrong? Lavender wasn't working alone. Alongside it ran another system, codenamed Habsora, meaning the gospel in Hebrew. If Lavender identified who to hit, the gospel identified what to hit: buildings, infrastructure, tunnels, stock, command posts. Together, these two systems created what insiders described as a target factory. The gospel could generate 100 bombing targets per day, a pace no human intelligence team could ever match. Before these AI systems, preparing a single airstrike target could take weeks of intelligence work. Now it took hours, sometimes minutes. The sheer volume of strikes that followed was staggering. Over 15,000 bombing targets were generated in the first weeks of the war alone. The machine was running faster than human judgment could follow. And then there was the third system. The one with the name that stops you cold. Where's Daddy was not designed to find targets. Lavender already did that. Where's Daddy was designed to track them in real time, constantly. It monitored the phones, the movement patterns, and the location data of men already flagged by Lavender. It had one specific trigger, the moment a target returned home. To his house, to his family, to his children. The moment that signal was confirmed, an alert was sent. A strike was authorized. The military deliberately chose to hit targets inside their homes, accepting that wives, children, and elderly relatives would likely die alongside them. They called this collateral damage. What makes this story even darker is what the sources revealed about internal policy. For low-ranking Hamas members, junior operatives, foot soldiers, the Israeli military reportedly authorized killing up to 15 to 20 civilians per target. Per target. This was not an accident. It was a policy decision. A calculated acceptance that AI-generated strikes on residential homes would kill innocent people, and that this was considered acceptable. For senior Hamas commanders, that number reportedly rose to over 100 civilian deaths per target. These numbers represent a fundamental shift in the ethics of warfare, where an algorithm's confidence score became the justification for levels of civilian death that would have been unthinkable under previous military doctrine. The machine lowered the threshold for killing. Now, here is the part that Silicon Valley does not want you talking about. Israel did not build this AI war machine alone. According to an Associated Press investigation, American technology giants, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft provided cloud computing and AI services to the Israeli military during the Gaza war. Microsoft's Azure cloud infrastructure was expanded specifically after October 7th. Google's Project Nimbus, a billion-dollar contract with the Israeli government, gave the military access to powerful AI tools. Amazon Web Services provided the computing backbone. These are the same companies that power your email, your phone, your shopping, your streaming, their servers, their AI models, their infrastructure running underneath a targeting system that was generating kill lists. Commercial AI, built for business, repurposed for war, 10%. That is the error rate that sources attributed to Lavender's targeting. 1 in every 10 people marked as a Hamas operative was incorrectly identified. On a list of 37,000 targets, that is 3,700 people. 700 human beings flagged as militants by an algorithm, who were not militants at all. And because operators were spending only 20 seconds reviewing each case, many of those errors were never caught. They were approved. Strikes were authorized. Bombs were dropped. The machine was never perfect. Its creators knew it was never perfect. But the system was designed to accept a margin of error, to treat false positives as an unfortunate but tolerable cost of operating at machine speed. The error was not a bug. It was built in. International humanitarian law is built on a simple principle. You must distinguish between combatants and civilians. You must take precautions. You must ensure that any harm to civilians is not excessive relative to military advantage. But when an AI system generates a target in seconds, when a human approves it in 20 seconds, when the strike happens before any lawyer, ethicist, or senior commander reviews the decision, who is responsible? The Israeli military says humans approved every strike, but the sources say those humans were rubber stamping the machine. The law was written for human decision-makers with time to think. AI warfare operates in a legal black hole where speed is the weapon and accountability gets lost in the algorithm. Here is the hardest truth of all. What happened in Gaza was not an experiment. It was a preview. Military analysts around the world are studying these systems right now, not to condemn them, but to replicate them. The United States has its own AI targeting program called Project Maven. China is racing to develop autonomous military AI. Russia is deploying drone swarms with automated target selection. The era of AI-assisted warfare is not coming. It is here, and the rules of war, written long before any of this was possible, have not kept up. Gaza showed the world what it looks like. When artificial intelligence is handed the power of life and death, the question now is not whether it will happen again. It is where, if this video made you think, if it disturbed you, challenged you, or taught you something you did not know, then do one thing right now. Hit that subscribe button. Because this channel exists to uncover the stories that powerful people hope you never find. Share this video with someone who needs to see it. And drop a comment below. Tell me, should AI ever be allowed to decide who lives and who dies? This debate is happening in the halls of the United Nations, in military war rooms, and in Silicon Valley boardrooms. But it should be happening everywhere, including right here. I'll see you in the next one.